When Claire opened the door on that frosty winter evening, her breath caught in her throat. She had been expecting a man in a neatly pressed shirt, maybe holding flowers, the kind of romantic gesture she hadn't experienced in years. Instead, Daniel stood there, tall but slouched, wearing a worn jacket that had seen better days. His eyes were tired, almost apologetic, and his voice trembled as he leaned closer and whispered, "My kids are in the car." For a moment, Claire's mind went blank. This wasn't how blind dates were supposed to start. Claire had been a single mom for almost 5 years, raising her 7-year-old daughter, Sophie, while juggling 2 part-time jobs. Life for her was a cycle of survival. Pay bills, put food on the table, and try not to collapse from exhaustion. Dating was a luxury she couldn't afford, emotionally or financially. But after constant nudging from her best friend, she had finally agreed to try one date. Daniel's dating profile had seemed normal. Single dad, graphic designer, loves hiking, can make a mean grilled cheese. No drama, no alarming red flags. But now, standing in the doorway with his words lingering in the cold air, Claire wondered if this had been a mistake. She could have shut the door politely. She could have told him they'd reschedule. But when she glanced past his shoulder toward the street, she saw 2 small silhouettes in the fogged-up car window. A little girl hugging a stuffed bear and a boy with his forehead pressed against the glass. Her heart squeezed. "It's freezing out there," she said quietly. "Bring them in." Daniel hesitated, embarrassment flickering across his face, but he nodded. The children shuffled in, shy and unsure. Claire quickly warmed up leftover vegetable soup and set out crackers. Sophie, curious as ever, pulled out her crayons and invited the little girl to draw. Within minutes, giggles replaced awkward silence. Over dinner, Daniel explained. His wife had passed away a year and a half ago after a sudden illness. Since then, he'd been holding life together with frayed strings, parenting, work, and grief all at once. Tonight, the babysitter had canceled last minute, but he didn't want to break the promise of meeting her. Claire listened in silence. She knew what it was like to feel alone, to be overwhelmed, to put on a brave face for a child when you were falling apart inside. By the time they left, she wasn't sure if this had been a date or something else entirely, but it had been real. After that night, they didn't jump into romance. Instead, a quiet friendship formed. Daniel would occasionally stop by with his kids, and Claire would watch them when he had late work shifts. He fixed her leaky faucet without being asked. She dropped off homemade soup when she heard his son was sick. They both still carried their struggles. Daniel worked long hours to keep the bills paid. Claire was still searching for a better job to give Sophie more stability. Yet, in those moments of helping each other, life felt a little less heavy. Then came the morning Claire's car broke down. It was the worst possible timing. She had an important interview for a full-time position she desperately needed. Standing by the curb, panic rising, she didn't even hear the old sedan pull up until Daniel's voice called out, "Hop in." He drove her to the interview, waiting outside with all 3 kids crammed into the back seat, munching on crackers. When she came back out, fighting back tears because she thought she had ruined her chances, Daniel simply smiled and said, "You did your best. That's all that matters." A week later, Claire got the call. She'd been hired. She wanted to tell Daniel first. When he answered the door, his kids ran to hug her like she was part of the family already. Months passed, and one sunny spring afternoon, Daniel showed up on her doorstep holding a bunch of daisies. Not perfect roses, but flowers picked with thought. His voice was soft, the same voice from that first night, but this time it held hope instead of hesitation. "Claire, you opened your door to me when you didn't have to. I want to open my life to you. Will you be my family?" Tears blurred her vision as Sophie squealed in joy. Claire realized that what had started as a night of unexpected inconvenience had become the foundation of something lasting. A love born not from grand gestures, but from kindness, understanding, and showing up for each other when it mattered most. Sparkle's moral of the story: one act of kindness can change the course of 2 lives, sometimes even create a new one together.